And I think we're in. So, yo, what is going on, guys? As you know what we would say. Hello, guys, welcome back to WOR Tier 5, Round 6 here in Canada, as we're waiting to load up in just a short few seconds now. Of course, that we had a week break last week, and just how long was that break? I mean, just no WOR to watch or drive. I mean, that's tantamount to torture, really. It really isn't. But if you're invested in this championship, which you should be if you've been following along as I have been, then it's really quite entertaining stuff. But if this is your first time watching this tier, this is all you need to know. The main championship protagonists at this moment in time, you'd have to say the main man of the season so far has been the slap bus in the Red Bull. He is currently leading the championship. However, he hasn't been doing that the whole throughout these first few races of the season. He does currently at the moment lead the way by a good over 30, about 36 points at the moment, which is immense stuff. That's been off the back of two really poor races from current second place BRT Wolf, and his Alpine teammate in Deer Hunter is, as we follow BRT Wolf now on his opening flying lap, his teammate in the other Alpine Deer Hunter in third place on the same amount of points, which does mean Alpine are currently leading the team's championship in Tier 5. Of course, only 5 rounds done so far in Tier 5 out of a good number of 15, so we've still got 10 races to go in this season, all up to play for. I would not count BRT Wolf out at all just yet. As good as I'm sorry, Slap, but I completely forgot your name for a split second. But as good as he's been so far this season, BRT Wolf, he got a top 2 in each of the first 3 races of the season, but hasn't scored points in either of the last 2 races in Austria or the Netherlands. But Canada, a very, very different track to the one we were just out at in the last race, as we're going to follow now with BRT Wolf now on the first lap of the race. Of the qualifying session even, as we just getting the full track wrap up there. He's coming through for his first lap here. Very tricky section now. I'd argue that's the first, as he's already invalidated, as you can see. That shows that first chicane there at the end of the first sector, I'd say is the hardest chicane on the track, and that includes the Wall of Champions chicane at the end of the lap. I think just because you have to carry so much speed to get that proper exit, you need to be as tight as you can on the inside of that first part of the chicane. And this is another tricky one here as well, to try and keep up as much speed as possible. Tight line now for Inkirk as he reaches into the hard braking zone of the hairpin here, as he gets a bit out of shape there. So I don't think he's going to really be very happy with his lap. He's definitely going to improve, especially as the track conditions start to ramp up. Yellow flag in front, hopefully it doesn't distract him too much. It shouldn't do, as he was on the straight. Very late braking there as he takes the Wall of Champions chicane very well. Not tight on the line, so he's not really maximising that as he goes for a 110.8. Not the best time he could possibly have done in that, as there's a couple of people going out of shape there. As we're on Deer Hunter now, the third place driver at this moment in time in the championship, the number 2 driver there, well, in terms of his number, but not necessarily his standings. He's a race winner, you've got to remember. He won the race in Russia this season, and he's certainly shown why. Another, as we see now on the timing screen, that we can see Borutorito is already out of his session. That will mean he will be starting the race in last place, you would have to imagine. Someone we've got to maybe focus on later on, as we'll see in a minute, as FGE Pingu goes fastest right now with a 109.9, just showing how those other 3 drivers who've set a time so far perhaps haven't set competitive lap times. As Sam 95 now with a 198 to go top. Of course, mate, these aren't. And now another driver's gone with a fastest time with BRT Wolf with a 1:93. 5 tenths faster, but let's see what his teammate Deer Hunter can do now as he goes through these last couple of corners. Now, not necessarily maximising the track limits, but he is taking a short route to the start-finish straight there, and he only goes good enough for 1:11 dead. That's not a great time for him, but he does have the opportunity to improve upon that. Maybe he's purposely gone slow because maybe he wants to start on the medium tyre. Of course, this track, very interesting when it comes to strategy. I see a couple of people on the intermediates. That doesn't mean we're going to try and set representative times. That's only because you've only got 3 sets of soft tyres to use in qualifying. And these drivers don't really want to be racing them too early on track conditions when the track's still going to be quite green. But this is your running at the moment, and that is BRT Wolf in pole position. That is a position that we are quite familiar with seeing him in this season. Harjay in second, quite a good performance from him so far, but only early days. Still lots of time to improve. Sam 95 with WOR, he's not the best qualifier, but he's very good in the races, so it'd be great to keep an eye on him later on in the race. Pingu in 4th place, very good from him so far. As I think someone, I thought for a moment someone had put themselves in between, but that doesn't seem to be the case. That bus not doing too great so far with a 1 minute 10 flat. That's 7 tenths off pole, and around such a short track like Austria, such as Canada, that's not going to be very good for him as we watch Bibbin get out of harm's way. Now, again, Canada very high when it comes to tyre wear, but if you were following the PC Tier 1 stream just a couple of days ago around this very same track, then you'll know that it was the one stop from the soft to the mediums that still can work around this track, but this track does provide a lot of variety in terms of its strategic opportunity. And you can see with the clouds in the sky, it's starting to get a bit grayer, so I'm starting to wonder, does it rain towards the end of this session? If so, I'm to go out on the intermediate. I don't see the reason as to why, because if it starts raining towards 5 tenths about 5 minutes before the end of the session, then they've lost out on precious dry running. And I mean, hopefully it doesn't get wet, because hopefully we want to see a thrilling conclusion to this qualifying session. But I'm worried that we might not see that as we try and follow Nomad now, who is on a fast lap here. He sets a purple first sector there, very, very tight on the white lines. They're basically maximising the inside line there. Doesn't go quite as tight as some of the drivers have been doing on these in Tier 1 there, so that's maybe with a little bit of time he could make up there. Maximising the exit there on that chicane, doing very well so far. Will he be setting another purple sector? No, he doesn't. But he looks like he could be on track to better his time at the moment, which is currently a 1 minute 11. As he comes down the penultimate straight here, only 2 corners to go now, and it's really, really important to get the line right, but it's so difficult to do. You've got to break about 75 metres, take as much speed as you can, ensure you don't bump into the wall of champions there. How's he going to do now? He's going to set a 1 minute 10 flat. That's a 1 second improvement, but that's only good enough to put him 6th. Still 6.5 tenths slower than the pole position time. I mean, that's BRT Wolf really showing just how he's really got a point to prove at the moment. He's 5 tenths faster than everyone else, and no one's gotten close to him so far. That is not even slap bus. Oh my goodness me! If that ends up being the pole time, and no one's able to even come close, that's going to be an absolutely sensational lap, and I'm disappointed we didn't follow it. We did follow him initially, but we're not going to make the same mistake again. If he's able to improve on this time, he's got a bit of traffic ahead of him. That might distract him a little bit there. They get out of the way though. Let's just see how he does with this chicane here. Very close to the wall there, but that's how you got to be to maximise your time here. He doesn't get the fastest sector one, but very close to the white line again, just like Nomad was. maximising the exit curve there. Going inside on this straight here. It's quite a bendy straight, but it's still a straight nonetheless, as he invalidates now. As Deer Hunter goes into fourth, and as I say, that edited forms takes that from Deer Hunter, and fourth is now edited forms. Deer Hunter in fifth. Slapbus, the championship leader at the moment, only down in seventh. But let's see what tires everyone's on. Artem's like I've got to be questioning why he's done 5 laps on the mediums, because that basically just takes away any sort of strategic advantage you'll have by starting on the mediums, because even those who will be starting from P11 downwards will be getting that free choice of tyre, and you've got to imagine they'll most likely be going for the medium tyres, as Slapbus takes second place now, still 2 and a bit tenths slower than BRC Wolf at this point in time, and that's really just showing just how good of a lap that BRC Wolf set early on in this session. As everyone, you've got to something to look out for in this race will be the track invalidations. There's a lot happening already in qualifying, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more in the races. Even the esports drivers struggle with track limits around Canada, because it is so difficult to really deal with here. There's so many corners that really force you to try and carry as much speed as possible on the inside, on the exit, and that does lead to a lot of invalidations when you're pushing to the absolute limit. Someone I am surprised by the performance of so far is, or not necessarily surprised by the performance of, but surprised that they haven't set a competitive lap so far, is Alex Daegu. He's always one of those drivers that's there or thereabouts so far this season, always in about the podium positions. Perhaps probably should be in the top 2 in the conversation right now for the championship hunt. If it wasn't for bad luck around certain races, he arguably should have a race win or two so far this season. Austria certainly was the biggest opportunity for him in that regard, but we're going to follow him around now this lap here. As much curb as you can into turn 1. Just got to make sure that one of your wheels is inside the white line. Now, hopefully Callum, who has just gone into 4th position, hasn't distracted him, hopefully. Doesn't seem to be pushing as hard as I'd think he would be hoping to if he was trying to set a competitive lap. He does still have enough time, given how short of a lap Canada is, to actually get another lap in on fresh soft. So we're just going to see how he does now. He's going to invalidate there, and I could see as soon as he turned him, that was a bit too early for him. And I'm sure he's going to be annoyed with himself, because that really does put the pressure onto his final lap now, as he is in 17th place. He does have good race pace, but he's not going to want to be starting 17th. That will severely limit what he can do in this race, assuming he doesn't pull out any sort of Jensen Button heroics. But we are going to stick now with some, not Callum, he's going to be on an outlet, but we're going to go with FGE Pingu here, as he crosses the line to go 3rd place in 1:09.6, only less than a 100th of a second behind Slapbus. This is proving to be a very happy hunting ground for the Aston Martin driver, who maybe has himself suffered a bit of bad luck through a lot of the races this season. He has been crashed out a couple of times, including one time by his teammates. I don't remember if that was specifically TLR or if that was a reserve driver that weekend. Someone noticeable in their absence this week is Istvan Tomasi. He has been in the last couple of races, and he was immediately on the pace, but he's not here this week, so that does lead to questions as to maybe why. I mean, he is a reserve driver at the end of the day, but do have a couple more spaces. He was driving in the Ferrari the last couple of races, so don't want to speculate on it any further, because I don't, because maybe just busy this weekend. Probably is. That's probably the reason. But it's a shame not to see him here this week, because he was a very quick driver and really took the challenge to BRC Wolf Slapbus, and in the last couple of weeks, the likes of Alex Daegu and Sam95. A very clean there from Bibbin, who is also one of those drivers who can really pull a performance out of a bag, but has been hit by bad luck as he sets a fastest sector 2. Could he be in the running for pole position now 3.5 minutes to go. The track will be close to its full evolution now in terms of this short qualifying session. Of course, if this was full qualifying, I mean, you'd be getting it gripping up more and more over the course of a few sessions. But one session to try and do everything in. I'm Bibbin now, 110.3 currently. He needs a 193 to go pole. He takes a 195 to go second place in the front row for the Alfa Romeo driver. But the man who's going to be hoping to take that from him, I mean, will in a minute be Slapbus. I think he's. It's not saying out lap for him here, but I'm assuming he's gone for a second lap to try and just burn a bit more fuel. You do see sometimes with these shorter tracks that the game doesn't quite calculate the correct amount of fuel for you to really be able to maximise speed here. As he's going to go through the final chicane now, and this should be his push lap here. This might be his final time to be able to push for pole position now. He's currently in third. He's not going to be happy about the fact that he's had that front row taken away from him. But you see him now break it just before the 50 board here, as much of the curb as he can possibly do on the entry there of that chicane. Tight line through the right hand sweep there, fastest sector one, and you've got to be so close to the white lines here. So often he's not got his EOS on. Well, he didn't for a moment there. So, well, at least maybe that might have just been a visual glitch. He goes wide there on the entry, and it does mean he can lead to an invalidation. Even the top drivers here are fallible to invalidations around this track, as BRT Wolf's now close behind. He's on a fast lap. Can he improve on his 1 minute 9.3? He's going to enter the hairpin here now. Doesn't set a faster sector 2, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going slower now. He's going to get the slipstream here off the Williams of, that would be Artem. Now, Slapbus has gone into the pits, so he's probably not going to get enough time to go for another outlap. He might just be able to do it, but that will remain to be seen. 193 is a 1 minute 9.1 for BRT Wolf. We might end up just seeing him run away with the race today. You might just see that. Wow, 4/10 faster than anyone else. The Slapbus is retired yet. Wow, I don't know what to say. That's an immense lap from BRT. Maybe that break week has really helped him recenter and just push on for this next 2/3 of the season. There's yellow flags now, but that will just be because Dynamo Dan's on an out lap or an in lap. As we can see, FGE Pingu hopefully try and dethrone Slapbus from third place, as he does set a fastest second sector of the lap. But as with the BRT Wolf lap, setting purple sectors doesn't mean anything if you haven't got the lap overall. But only a couple of corners left to go now for Pingu. Can he try and challenge a pole position? It's going to be a tall order. He needs to gain 4 attempts. Tries a bit wayward there with the Rule of Championship, but he doesn't hit it in the end. He goes second place, 1/10 slower than BRT Wolf. But that's a great lap from the Aston Martin driver as well, with best qualifying he's done all season. Bibbin goes third. Can Callum G try and do anything else, or Deer Hunter even? They're going through the final hairpin now, as there's only 2 corners for each of them left to go. Slapbus is having a nightmare of a race. He's down to 5th position, with Sam 95 going to 4th. So final chicane now for Callum G in the Mercedes. Is he going to be able to challenge for anything better than that? He goes 3rd fastest. Alex Daegu in the McLaren as well has gone 7th fastest. And that is Deer Hunter in 4th now. Slapbus, the championship leader, is in 7th place around Canada. There's 3 DRS zones, so that's going to cause a lot of DRS trains today. And that's not where you want to be if you're Slapbus and your main championship rival is in 1st. he's going to be kicking himself there. That's probably the worst qualifying I've seen from Slapbus all season, and he knows he can do better. But that doesn't take away from some of the laps that we've seen in this qualifying. What an immense qualifying! If the race is even half as good as that qualifying was, I think we're in for an absolute corker, guys. So make sure to stay tuned, as we'll be underway with the race in just a couple of minutes' time. But here you can see the run-up for the qualifying session just now. No penalties applied here, so we've got BRT Wolf in the Alpine and pole position, joined on the front row by FGE Pingu in the Aston Martin, his first front row of the season. Callum G in the Mercedes in third place, and joining him on the second row will be Deer Hunter, the teammate of pole sitter BRG Wolf. ILR Bibbin and Sam95 making a Ferrari powered front, third row of the grid, and Slapbus, the leader of this championship in tier 5, is only done a lap good enough for 7th place, but was 4/10 off the lap set by BRT Wolf. So may not sound like a lot of time, but especially around a track like Canada, which is such a short time, it's going to be very, very difficult to keep up, really, unless there is a bit of fireworks and handbags thrown into the mix. But that's just thrown a lot of spanners into the works here today. I mean, there's a lot of intrigue around the grid that we've got set here. The best probably qualifying result of the season so far for Mercedes as well, it's got to be noted. I think Callum is a reserve driver as well, so yeah, you just got to hear me waffle for a minute as I try and fill the time for whilst we wait for the formation lap to begin, and I'll keep you posted on any updates here. I'll be trying. I think we've got to just wait just a couple minutes now as we wait for everything to get underway. But something to note is the greyness of. I hope it hasn't picked up in my in the commentary, but apologies if it has. There was just a bit of a loud bang on the upstairs. I don't quite know what that was. As Alex Daegu pointed out, a penguin, a wolf and a penguin on the front row. It's an all-animal, it's an all-wildlife front row for the first time in Formula 1 history. As you can see now, we're going to be getting underway with the formation lap in just 25 seconds time now. But as I was going to point out just before I got rudely interrupted by some loud banging upstairs, is that it's quite a grey sky, and whilst that didn't come to anything in qualifying, might that come to anything in the race? Perhaps I think we'll get an indication of that if the bottom 8 drivers go onto mediums, or if they'll stay onto mediums, or if they go onto softs. But we'll try and have a look now at the tyres being used. Okay. So I don't think that's going to be indicating any sort of wet weather. At least not for this opening stint. Maybe not for about 10 laps or so. But you've got to imagine that the soft tyres can go up to even about 15 laps if you're really careful. But you've got to be a Checo Perez style tyre whisperer to be able to do that. Not saying it can't be done, but it's a very tall order around a track like Canada where tyre wear is quite a huge factor. But, and I'm aware I'm saying but a lot, but there's a lot of buts. I apologise. I hope you guys at home are having a bit of a giggle about all the buts happening, and that's the supposed tyre strategy from AWS, but they don't have a Scooby about what they're talking about necessarily, because the one stop was the winning strategy from soft to medium in the PC tier 1, and that does include esports drivers. But at the same time, you do have a streak of a potential 2-stop with fresh tyres because of the high tyre wear on this track, being a very real possibility of a medium to hards potentially. But we're just waiting now. There's a huge gap between Pingu and Callum now on the grid. Is that going to have an effect on these front two drivers here? Will their tyres cool down a bit too much as we get underway with the starting sequence? That's quite a... Whereas there's not that much of a gap between anyone else. And we're just waiting for these last couple of drivers with Dynamo Dan and Bora Torito at the back now. Just because they're at the back doesn't necessarily mean they're bad drivers at all. Everyone on this grid is very, very capable on their own, but we are now going to get underway as AWS has predicted there. And it's 5 red lights now, and we're underway as Pingu has gotten a drive-through penalty for a jump start, and that's going to be woeful for him, as that's a very good start from the Mercedes driver there. Poor start for Bibbin, and it's effective second place for Pingu, for Callum G there. BRT Wolf's going to be delighted in having that much more than that. Steer 104 still, and move back a bit. Flatbus up by 1 position so far. Sam 95 having a woeful start there. And you can see just behind, and there's a spin from Pingu. Oh, that's as bad like I was talking about in qualifying. He's gone down all the way to the last place now, and on top of a drive-through penalty. How much worse can it get for him? As we see Slapbus now, he's had a good start. He's up to 5th position, but BRT Wolf, he's got a lovely amount of traffic air between himself and Callum G, but it's not going to be enough to get out of the DRS zone, but he's going to have to really push if he's going to want to walk away with this race. Alex Daegu and Harjay both having poor starts. The two McLaren drivers not having the best luck sometimes at times this season, but Slapbus now making the overtake into the final chicane on Bibbin. He's going to back out, Bibbin is. The 2 into that just simply does not work. As we get at the end of the first lap, we've got BRT Wolf, Callum G and Deer Hunter in the top 3. We now see Artem in the background. They're making the move on Sam 95 as we follow Bibbin there. The 2 Ferrari powered drivers there. Of course, Bibbin is an Alfa Romeo driver. Not having necessarily the best of starts at the moment, but Bibbin holding position on lap 1, but could have made moves further ahead, as Pingu does make a mistake there. So he's effectively gained 1, lost 1, but we're going to be going on to Slapbus right now, as he's just a couple of tenths behind 3rd place in Deer Hunter, teammate of course of BRT Wolf. You got to think, is he going to have any sort of involvement in terms of helping out his teammate win the race today? Callum G is really making a good account for himself today so far, into 2nd place as things stand, just keeping out of trouble. That's all you've got to do on a street circuit. And for these top few drivers, staying out of trouble, staying inside the white lines is just going to pay dividends, as BRT Wolf is now outside of DRS from Callum G, and that's going to be a huge factor in this race if he's able to maintain that gap. The DRS train already broken between the top couple of drivers, as Deer Hunter also outside of the DRS range of Callum, but someone who isn't outside of DRS range is Slapbus on Deer Hunter, and you've got to think it's probably going to be a formality with how easy it can be when you don't have the other driver in front with DRS. As there's a yellow flag for edited forward. Has he just spun or has he crashed? I think he's done a bit of both, as he, fortunately there, Pingu does ghost. Yeah, you can see a bit of a broken front wing there for the Alfa Romeo driver. Unless there's a safety car, this race effectively. We're going to go back to 4th place, and that is such an easy overtake by Slapbus in the end. That man just knows how to do it. He's got the DRS, and he just says bye-bye, and the virtual safety car's out. And that is for Nomad retiring. as Alex Daegu pits. What's he going to pit onto? Does he have front wing damage? I think that potentially might be the case as to why he's pitting so early. No, he's making a tactical. Could that pay dividends? Following him into the pits is TLR10 as well. And Aston Martin is double stacking. There's a full course caution now, full safety car now, and you might see a lot of these drivers make their first pit stops, and that's going to convert a lot of people onto the two stop. And if you're BRT Wolf here, you've got you've already formed a huge gap. This is probably the last thing that you want, safety car bunching everyone up. If you're BRT Wolf right now, what you want is just no trouble whatsoever, no crashes, no spins whatsoever. You just want to be able to get on with your race, pull ahead, and just try and maintain as much of a gap as you can possibly do. Unfortunately for him, that's not going to be quite the case yet. And around the track like Canada, it's very prone to being able to cause accidents. And Alex Daegu has been disqualified. I think he's probably just retired here. Yeah, no, I think he just wants to retire. And yeah, that's Callum G going on to the two stop now. He's gambled. Deer Hunter has gambled. We see Bibbins gambled as well. BRT Wolf and Slapbus and Artem, AEM Duran, they're taking the gamble that there's going to be more racing laps to come to build a gap and just try and as a drive-through penalty for edited form. Alright. That's unfortunate for him. In fact, he might end up retiring in the end. He's had that spin. He's had that. He might end. I'm not quite sure there, but very interesting split in the strategy here. I think it's clear by the fact. I think it's clear with how BRT Wolf and Slapbus have gone that they're going for the one stop in the end. Artem and AEM Duran, they started on the medium tyre, I do believe, if we're just going to compare. Yes, everyone from 3rd to 6th started on the medium tyre, but they do have track position. Whereas Callum G, despite pitting from new tyres under the safety car, he's down in 7th place and he's going to have to work through that slower. He's going to have to work through those ahead of him that are on warm tyres, and that might play into the advantage for BRT Wolf and Slapbus. You would have to assume at this point that everyone apart from Sam95, who's gone onto the hard tyres, is going to have to go and make another pit stop. As I say that, Amy Duran has just pitted, and what's he going to pit onto? Oh, he's broken his front wing. Okay, and he's put onto another set of mediums. I find that interesting. He's probably thinking that there's going to be another safety car, a track like Canada, where there's a lot of jeopardy involved, a lot of close barriers, where there's likely going to be another crash or two at any point during this race. I'm thinking there's going to be a crash around the lap 20 mark, probably. He's probably going to actually be more hoping there's one around the lap 25. You'd have to think. You know, only 3 drivers now on the soft. BRT Wolf, Slapbus, and edited form. And again, as I was mentioning right as the safety car came out, the last thing BRT Wolf would have wanted is the safety car to close up the gap. The next worst thing he would have wanted to see is that the guy behind him closing up that gap would have been Slapbus, because we've already seen just how good Slapbus's race pace was today, even if his qualifying pace wasn't there. But if I was BRT Wolf, I would be very comfortable in knowing that my pace so far was very good. And I don't think the safety car is going to be coming in this lap just because of how far back edited Fawn is. But I'm sure it'll come in at the end of next lap, as Pineda is going a bit slow, but that's just him just trying to warm the brakes up. No penalties so far outside of when it comes to track limits, which I do find just a tad surprising, because you do see with tracks like these where limits do just gobble you up when it comes to penalties, but they can happen quite early on. But none so far to speak of, as we go for one more lap in the safety car, and you've got to think that it's going to come in at the end of this lap. And it's so important to make sure that the tyres and brakes are just into the optimum window as you come into the green flag running at the end of a safety car period, because even if it's just ever so slightly too cold, you just lose a lot of grip. And if you're BRT Wolf, you'll have supreme confidence, if you just lock up a little bit into turn one, just opening the door for Slap Bus, that's gonna just put you under a world of pressure. Canada's just one of those tracks where you have to be in a really, really good rhythm, just keep banging in lap after lap to maintain race pace. And if you just make one small mistake, that throws that whole rhythm off, and that will come if you don't warm up your tyres and brakes properly. But you can see a lot of weaving. They're doing all they can to get the heat into the tyres. And an interesting thing we'll see off the end of this lap, when the safety car does come in, is just how much faster will the likes of Artem be compared to the two soft runners ahead. Because you've got to think, with the tyre wear at this point now, it's touch and go as to whether the mediums and softs will be quicker now. I would lean towards the mediums being slightly quicker, but as well, you've got to think how much faster is Callum going to be. He's on the freshest set of medium tyres out. He's on one of the freshest set of mediums here. As we see BRT Wolf clip the wall here, as he's going to try and hold up everyone as fast as much as he possibly can. And when's he going to go? He's got to time this perfectly. He's going to go now in the middle of the corner, but he's not. He's gone. He's gone. Oh, he tricked Slap Bus a little bit, but Slap Bus making sure to be right with him. Is he going to try and make a move on the inside here? Oh my goodness, what's this? What is this from BRT Wolf? What is that? He's gone completely off the rails now. He's gone completely. Oh, he's gone spun. He's spun. Oh no, that's terrible for BRT Wolf. Oh, that could not have gone any worse for who has been so quick earlier in this race. Oh my, that has just completely left him for dust. He's down all the way in 15th. How unlucky. Oh, that's not what you want to see here. But that does mean Slapbus has had given them golden opportunity to extend his championship lead now. He's already made 9/10 on Artem, as Callum G fighting for third place with the Haas driver WCD Pineda, and it's going to be a drag race down to the final chicane of the lap. Who's going to win out in the end? As you see, Callum G going for the slipstream here. He's maybe backing out. He's going to back out because, like I said, on the first lap, 2 into 1 just simply does not work in that corner. But he's going to have a better traction with those fresher tyres going into turn 1 now. He's going to make the move into the inside there, as we see Pineda just go a bit too deep and has to concede in the end. So now we see, after 9 laps, we've got the Red Bull driver Slapbus making his way from 6th, 7th place on the grid at the start up into first. That's just showing what he's leading the championship by such a large margin. This man should be driving. As Domo Dan now has gone off away from the session, I think that's just him retiring, and I don't think there'll be anything coming from that. And I think BRT Wolf has come into the pits now. That's his race effectively over, unless there's another safety car, which, as we were discussing through that first safety car, is a very real possibility. So don't count BRT Wolf out just yet, even though I literally just did. And we see Artem already outside the DRS range, even before DRS has been imposed. And the first time cutting, and that's BRT Wolf now with time penalty there. And he's gone slow again. I have to see what he's gone. What's happened here? He's just gone a bit. I think he's just fell a bit out of shape here. He's close to being lapped by the front runners now. And just a couple of laps ago, he was right up there. But Slapbus he's gonna have an easy race now if there's no funny business involved. But he does have to pit again. Yeah, but so does every other driver here. 7/10 the gap now between Artem and Callum G. The Mercedes driver looking to try and make a move in the coming moments. Artem himself looking to try and regain DRS from Slapbus, because that will protect him from any moves from Callum. If he doesn't get DRS here, which he doesn't, He's not within the 1 second at the DOS detection points. Wow, you could just see just how much more grip Callum has at this moment in time. Got the DOS, that's going to be a very rudimentary move in the end. He could potentially make 2 moves in 2 straight here. He's going to have overwhelming amounts of overspeed on the slap bus here. He's 7/10 of a second now. He's got so much more grip. That's completely unbelievable as he sits the fastest lap of the race in the meantime. And there's yellow flags in sector on the start finish straight there for I think that's Enrikerk there. I don't quite know why. But now Callum G only 4/10 of a second behind Slapbus. Just a lap ago he was 7/10 behind Artem, who is now 1 second behind him. This is Callum's to lose right now. As there's a Williams driver now around, and that's Borutorito. He's gone a bit haywire and he's lost a bit of his front wing. But we're going to go back to the race at the front now. Callum, 247 Callum is going to be a bit more patient here at the moment. Not going to try and make the move on the inside of a hairpin. It's just going to wait it out. Try and make the move on the inside of the final chicane like he did with Artem. He's got the DRS, and I think Slapbus realises he doesn't really have much to contend with, so he's just going to slot himself behind. Just not lose too much time by fighting. He knows it'll be pointless because Callum's got the over. But would that be a mistake? Because Callum does have professional tyres. He's going to have a lot more grip at this point in time. And if I was Slapbus right now, I'd probably pull the trigger on the undercut. Because it's lap 12, you can get to the end on the mediums now. Oh my goodness, that's a huge moment for Slapbus, and he definitely needs to pit now. Surely those tyres are gone. That 12 laps around Canada on the softs is very, very tough to do. As I did 4 now is out of the race. And it does say disqualified, but I don't necessarily think it's disqualification. I do think it is just people retiring on track. That's a cool. Oh, I'm sorry. I've just got to fawn over, no pun intended, given one of the DNF displays. But it's a really interesting camera angle I've never seen before. So we're going to just stick with Slapbus right now, just to see if he does choose to pit at the end of this lap. He does. He's going to go onto the medium tyres, you would suspect. No, and sectors 2 and 3 there's an AlphaTauri around, and that's Duran, and he's crashed out there, I believe. I don't think he's decided to quit just yet. And yeah, we're just heading back now to the Slapbus. He is on medium tyres. Hasn't lost any time due to front wing damage or anything like that, so he's good on that end. But you're running order after 13 laps with Callum G 247 in his first race that I've at least watched since commentating at the start of the season for TF5 in first place, and then Artem, TLR, Harjay and Pineda. This has been a bizarre world type deal here in this race, and there's a huge amount of chaos here coming in out of the second sector as Pineda seems to be going incredibly slowly, and Deer Hunter making the move eventually there into the hairpin. It's going to be a drag race into the final chicane again, and not much ERS to play with for Deer Hunter there. And we're going to pull up the telemetry for the first time in this race, and we see Pineda with not only 19% compared to 8%, 6% for Deer Hunter. But is Deer Hunter going to be able to make the move stick on the inside of turn 1? Pineda will have the inside for turn 2, but does Deer Hunter have the traction around the outside? He seems like he does, and he makes the move stick in the end. And that is Deer Hunter into P7 in this race. Pingu into P5, but he is ghosted out, so I think that might be connection related. Slapbus in P10 now, but everyone else has still got to make another stop apart from Sam95, who is his next closest rival, but he's 10 seconds ahead. And as we see a bit of drifting there from Pineda, who might have to box soon just because his mediums do seem to look like they're being quite worn out now. And sliding can't be doing him any good at all. Sam 95, obviously they're moving up into 8th place at the hairpin and does get the DRS out of it as well. As we're going to move a bit further ahead into the battles here, the fight for 3rd place now. Harjay just is nearly making the move into the final chicane. He's now going to look for a move on the inside into turn 1. Is he going to make it stick? He fights hard for the position, pushes TLR as far as he can possibly push him. Wait, gonna go side by side. No, they're not. TLR eventually backs out. He doesn't have the EOS to fight, and there's a Haas who's yellow flagged in sector 1, and that is Pineda. You could see that he was going a bit slow, a bit wayward for the last couple of laps, and that's probably the result of it. Flatbus now looking for is now going to be within DRS range. But we're going to move further back. Further forward into the fight as we see Callum G just cruising away with this race, 5.8 seconds ahead of Artem. You've got to think there is going to be not much that anyone can do to stop Callum now. BRT Wolf now speeding in the pit lane, and he looks like he's retiring. He has retired for the 3rd race in a row. BRT Wolf is going to go without points, and might that be his championship fight over? It was going so well for him at the beginning of this race, and now that is so disappointing for Wolf there. You can't help but feel sorry for him today. He should have had a lot more come from this race, but he just binned it at the restart of the safety car, at the end of the safety car period, as we see now TLR 10 getting 3 seconds worth of time penalties for track limit warnings. RJ now pushing practically Artem through. Oh my goodness me! That's RJ maybe pushing a bit too much in the dirty air of Artem as he spun. No, that's not the first spin that we've seen this race, not the first spin that we've seen at that corner. Artem, just by sheer dirty air, has maintained 2nd place, but it might not be for very long. As we see again another instance of a car practically pushing Artem through a corner, and this time the car behind does not bin it. This time the car does have the run into the final chicane. Now it's going to be quite an easy move in the DRS zone in the end, and now the job is on for TLR. Try and push on through 3 seconds just to get ahead of the likes of Deer Hunter, who at this point in time is in a P2 as he goes into P5 on track over FGE Pingu, who was 2nd place. It's not been a good day for our front row starters, with BRT Wolf in pole position, having now retired without getting any points, and Pingu in P6, having binned it early on in the race, as Borutorito, who did start last place, who is now in P12, getting a 3-second time penalty there. Just over a second separating these 4 cars. This is Canada 2014 scenes here. If you remember back to that race, just the fight for P1 ended up being like this, except this is the fight for P2, as we see ILR Bibbin now making the move into the hairpin, but having the move out of the hairpin now. Artem finds himself going down to P5 now. His tyres being a bit more worn than those around him, who did pit under the safety car. And he's starting to lose that pace now. It was looking like a very smart idea to have pit under the safety car for mediums now, because they just have the overwhelming pace at this point. Your standings just after the halfway point in this race is Callum G in 1st place with a completely commanding race so far. TLR 10 in 2nd place, and ILR Bibbin rounding out the podium positions, although that is only on track. If we were to take it on provisional standings, it would be Deer Hunter in 2nd place and picking up the pieces for Alpine following BRT Wolf's retirement early on in this race. And just the race here is the battle here for 2nd place on track is so close. And if you're TLR, this is not what you want. You want to try and pull away, but TLR only has 14% EOS, so he doesn't really have enough to really push. Whereas Bibbin, he's got enough to push forward if he needs to, but he's getting overtaken by Deer Hunter with significantly less EOS, which is surprising to see. I think Bibbin's just being a bit more reserved. He knows he doesn't need to fight this, given the lack of penalties for Deer Hunter at this moment in time. Does have a look on the inside going into turn 1 now, as we see a bit of internet interruption there. As we Pingu and Bibbin there just ghosting through one another. I think Pingu's just a bit out of whack when it comes to his internet connection, so he's ghosting quite a bit, but that is helping him when it comes to making moves. He's definitely not got his AI controlling because he's going way too fast for it. But we're going to take a look back real quick before we get back to the battle at the front there for P2. At just whereabouts Slapbus is right now. He's only 6 seconds behind Sam95, and he was about 10 seconds only a couple laps ago. So he is gaining at this moment in time to the main pack ahead. And once he does that, that's when he's really going to be trying to be back in contention for this race. But it's only really going to be between him and Callum G. Callum G still got to pit again in this race because of when he pit. And Deer Hunter now going for the move on the inside of TLR10 there. And he's gotten the move stuck there. And TLR's not going to really be able to fight back. He doesn't have the DRS, and he's just going to have to accept that he's not got enough speed there. He's going to have to wait for another opportunity in the coming lap. But I think Deer Hunter's just in a world of his own compared to these guys. I think Callum G is in a world of his own compared to everyone else, and it's going to take a miracle for Callum G, I think, to just lose hold of this race. And for Deer Hunter as well, it's going to be. He was only provisionally into P2. Now he's on track into P2, and there's a great battle here. It's a great battle here, but not great camera angles on this fight between Bibbin and Pingu. They've been fighting for the last few laps, and it's just been nothing short of exceptional racing here today in Canada. And you don't have to worry about if these two drivers are just going to have an advantage at the end of this race. As we see Deer Hunter trying to break the toe of TLR there. Of course, it's going to be so difficult to actually break out of the DRS train, given the 3 DRS zones around this track. But we're going to try and see if TLR does have the overspeed. No, he does not. On the slightly older tyres, he is going to... I'll just double check on that. Yeah, only by 1 lap. But sometimes 1 lap difference in tyres does make all the difference. And it's seeming to do so today. As we see Harjay now, who did have a bit of a moment, was in the fight for the podium positions early in the race before he spun at the start of the second sector, as we've seen happen with Edited Fawn earlier in the race as well, before he eventually retired. But we do have this battle for P2 still very much brewing. I think we're going to see this for the rest of the race. And as things stand, we've got everyone on 1 stop apart from Harjay and Enkirk. I'll have to ask him how to pronounce his name one day, the Haas driver. But again, we see Deer Hunter go defensive immediately, weaving about to break the toe from TLR, and there's the reason why you can see just how much he's catching up. But he doesn't seem fast enough compared to Deer Hunter out of the final chicane. That's limiting his options when it comes to the move into turn 1. He does get very close there, but he's just not slightly close enough. In the end, he's going to wait again, and he's going to also have to hope that Deer Hunter gets a penalty. Because as things stand, even if TLR does overtake Deer Hunter, he's going to end up finishing P2, at least if Slapbus doesn't have anything to say about it, which I think he will. But of course there we can see the penalties dished out to everyone so far this race. Only 3-second time penalties, except for Harjay and Enkirk, who have 6 seconds each. And we see now ILR Bibbin seeming to have a much better exit than TLR. Could that open up the opportunity for ILR Bibbin to come into P3? Again, we see Deer Hunter go defensive initially, and it seems like TLR is a lot closer. He's going to try and have a look around the outside there, and he's going to get a much better run in the end out of the final chicane. This is his opportunity now to try and make the move into turn one. He's going to try and make the move around the outside. Oh my goodness, they've made contact. There's more contact than Deer Hunter's been hit on the inside by TLR. That is going to have an investigation, but I think that's just a bit of a racing incident. We saw Deer Hunter go defensive, and TLR manages to find the space on the inside, but just the angle of the cars there does mean that it just was only going to end one way, and that was with Deer Hunter getting spun round. And it'll be interesting to see if TLR has to pit again and swap his front wing. It doesn't look like he's visually got any front wing damage, but you never know on this game. You might not even be told if he does. But and now see Sam 95 in 4th place on track, but obviously because of all the penalties ahead of him, he is in provisional P2. He doesn't have to make another stop, unlike Callum G, who is going to have to pit soon. And as I say, he is pitting now. It's probably going to be onto the softs, is it? Yes, you see the Red Bull soft tyres now come on, as he's going to be overtaken by TLR, he's going to be overtaken by Bibbin, he's going to be overtaken by Sam 95, is he going to be overtaken by Slapbus? This is the real question here, the two race leaders provisionally now, as we see Slapbus come through the corner, first two corners here. He's going to end up ahead of Callum G, and it's only Callum G, and Callum G's only slotted himself between Deer Hunter and Slapbus. This is a very precarious position you're in right now if you're Slapbus. And he is in provisional P1 now, and Callum G is in provisional P2, because the mediums aren't getting to the end of a race. Actually no, they're in P2 and P3 provisionally, because Sam 95 is on the hards. But three different compounds between the 3rd, 4th and 5th place drivers respectively. Sam 95 on the hard, Slapbus on the mediums, and Callum G on the softs. It's going to only surely go one way. Callum G's got to make use of the softs' overwhelming pace in these first few laps, because they do start to die off eventually. And 12 laps on the softs is good. Tall order Atlas will tell you. He made a bit of a mistake when he was on 12 lap old soft tyres, which eventually caused him to pit that lap. Slapbus is currently on that aged medium tyres now. He pit at lap 12, meaning he's on his 13th lap on the mediums. Sam 95 on about 20 lap old hards now. Let's actually have a look on the official tyres, as there's yellow flags in sector 1 now, and I think that's for as the safety cars are out. That's going to be huge. That is absolutely huge in changing up this race. What do you do if you're any of these drivers? If you're Callum G, you've surely got to stay out. You just pit, and you're just going to lose track position if you pit again. But if you're Slapbus, you surely go onto softs. If you're Sam 95, you surely go onto softs. If you're Bibbin, you surely go onto softs. I can't quite tell what that was for in the end. I feel like that might be Borsrito, but I can't tell you for certain. I'll have to. Maybe the Discord chat will be able to tell me, but I'm not 100% sure at this moment in time. If you're watching and you're in the Tier 5 chat, and we see the first couple of drivers to bite the bullet and go onto soft, the top 3 all going to go onto soft in the end. And Slapbus stays out. He's gambling huge. He's thinking he's going to be able to hold off the soft runners for the rest of this race. I don't think he's going to be able to, but he's going to have the cars in between himself and some of these are pitting right now. Pingu up to 3rd now, he's not pitting. Callum G makes sense as to why he's not pit. He knows he's got the pace in this race to beat everyone. He's shown it today. But the one factor in between him and racing, winning this race, is Slapbus. Can Slapbus hold him off for long enough? The mechanical grip that Callum G will possess over Slapbus will be absolutely insane. Another factor to factor in is the penalty situation, Kangamji and Slapbus will lack penalties of any kind, but FRG Pingu, TLR10, ILR Bibbin all have penalties, as do Artem, Harjay and Rikirk. Only 10 laps to go in this race, and it's gonna be a very, very interesting end. As we see the tyre situation has just been an ever-present conversation today. Slapbus, the only one left on the medium tyres. I've got to think that's a huge mistake from him to stay out on the mediums. I don't know what he's done there. He might have thrown away the race, but then he might think, if I pit, I've lost track position to Kangamji, and he might just run away with things. But everyone else on fresh softs. If we see Slapbus just drop like a fly, you'll know why, and that's because he's on the mediums, and not just mediums, on old medium tyres as well. There's already a stretch to make him last 23 laps anyway in full green condition. Do so when the field is bunched up and you've got to defend for 8 laps. If he manages to get a good result out of this race, like I'd say, if he gets, on track, if Slapbus is able to get P5 or higher, I will absolutely commend him for that, and probably recommend him for driver of the day. It'll be, and like I keep saying, it's going to be an absolutely tall order for Slapbus to be able to do that, and especially if the safety car comes in at the end of the lap, which it may well do, depending on when Pineda joins the rest of the pack. We'll just have to wait and see now. And it doesn't seem like it's going to. No wait, it does. Yes, of course, because Pineda just joined the end of the pack now. That means it is coming in. So, coming out of the safety car period now, which was quite a short one, we've got Slapbus, the only runner in this field on medium tyres. The rest of them on fresh softs. Some fresher than others, and we'll see if that plays a factor towards the end of the race. But Slapbus is banking on the idea that he can defend for 8 laps. He's already gone. He's caught everyone by surprise. And was that the correct decision? You're going to see Kangamji catch up a little bit with the overwhelming mechanical grip that he'll have, as Bibbin dates another time penalty there. That's another fact that he's going to try and take into account. The fact that he's not got any penalties, and he's had a great start so far, as we see Slapbus lead from Kangamji, from Pingu, from TLR. It's currently an Aston Martin 3-4 on track. As TLR takes another penalty, the penalty situation is another one. And Sam 95 on our post penalties is up to 3rd position. This is another race where he's just kept it clean and kept it cool. And he's going to get a good result in the end if he keeps it like this. The Slapbus, he's doing it well at the moment. He's got to do this for another 7 laps. 7 and a bit laps in the end. There's yellow flags in the end, and that's for Harjay, who's gone round, I believe. Yeah, he's broken his front wing, and that's even bigger front wing as he's now reset to track, but it's not very much. I won't tell if you don't. But that's his race effectively over. And Slapbus, he's not going to really be able to get the opportunity to break with DRS in the end. When a driver like Kangamji, he's proven himself to be incredibly fast this weekend. He's proven himself. We know he's going to have insane mechanical grip just based on the tyres difference. You can see there, just so much more traction coming out of turn 2 as Harjay now retires. Everyone who now finishes the race will get points regardless of where they finish. And we can see now Kangamji looking for a move potentially there, coming into turn 5. But he's going to think better of it at the moment. He knows it's not the ideal position to go for it. As Pingu is following closely because Slapbus is holding everyone up now. That's going to allow TLR 10 to try and make a move on Pingu now, but he does have 6 seconds off of penalties compared to the 3 that Pingu does. Pingu is going to lose the position into the hairpin there, and we're just going to stick on this race for first position now. It's a Mercedes versus Red Bull. We've seen this so many times in real life over the past year. We're going to see it once again in virtually in Tier 5 of WOR, Season 5, Round 6 in Canada. Is Callum G going to try and make the move on the inside here? No, he's not. He's going to wait until he gets the DRS. And that's very smart thinking. He's playing tactically here. We see Slapbus with 49 to 50, basically half his ERS already drained. And compare that to 83% of ERS to Callum G. He knows he can play it with patience. That's exactly what he's doing here. Sam 95 up to 5th position on track now. Again, he's got the 3rd place locked and loaded, essentially, so long as he doesn't get any penalties. Which, given the sort of driver he is, I doubt he will do. Callum G now practically pushing Slapbus through now as we go into the DRS detection zone for the first time since green flag running was reintroduced now. And Ping TLR10 knows it's now or never when it comes to overtaking Callum G. He's got the better exit now, out of the hairpin. He's going to try and make the move on back straight here. Is he going to be able to get his van out of ERS? And as Callum G also makes the move on Slapbus, is he going to take the lead here? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I've lost for words here. As Callum G does make it stick in the end. Slapbus tried to defend with all he could, but in the end it was just no use. He's just got not enough speed to defend against Callum G. And assuming there's no mistakes made by Callum, he's all but over for this race lead. And I don't want to give him a commentator's curse, but I think that's his to lose now. But we have seen the race leader bottom it once before this race, as we can see TLR now just looking for the move on Slapbus. He's going to try and maybe make it into the end of this chicane here, but he thinks better of it. Gets so much better traction, but might that be a mistake? No, it won't be, because he'll still be within 1 second of Callum G ahead. Slapbus defends on the inside as we see TLR basically drift through the chicane there and will get DRS, and he's already ahead on track there, as we see Sam 95 now go for Slapbus now. He's going to move on the inside to try and defend the position. Sam 95 does defend in the end, and that's 3-second time penalty now for Slapbus. That advantage he had on the penalties is now evaporated, as we see Sam 95 make the move round the outside. He should have the traction on this corner here, and he's going to make the move stick in the end. And this is where we see Slapbus just start to move back. Despite how good of a driver Slapbus is, he just doesn't have the grip today. Now that he didn't pit under the safety car, and it's proving to be a monumental mistake now. And we see Callum G in first place. I don't know how many warnings he has, but if he has any warnings at all, I would be slightly disappointed in him, because that would have been needless sort of risks he would have been taking when he was in the lead by 8 seconds early in the race. So he shouldn't really be having to worry too much about losing this race on penalties, or even if he does cross the white line once or twice. And we see Callum G trying to break the toe of TLR now, as he wants to win this race on track. He's going to be very prideful about that, but we know TLR does have slightly younger tyres, 2 lap younger tyres to be exact, as we saw there. And there's just a huge train now between 1st and 8th. And we see Pingu nearly losing the DRS zone now to Sam 95. He's only 4 tenths behind TLR, who himself is 6 tenths behind Callum G 247. Sam 95 in the shout for the race win here, assuming that TLR can cause trouble for Callum in these last couple of laps. This is where those younger tyres are really going to have an effect. And there's yellow flags for Bibbin. He's unlucky in that he was in for a shout for a good result, and he's only going to get at most 2 points here today now. Probably only going to be good enough for 1. But if TLR can get a good result, a good run out of either of these corners now, and just run alongside Callum G, who's got a lot more ERS. We've only got 2 laps to go now in this race, and it's still anyone's game in terms of who wins this on track. Slapbus now down into P6. No real surprise there. 4 attempts between Callum and TLR. I don't think TLR is going to really trouble Callum this lap, but if he's able to trouble him at all, he's going to have to do it this lap, because we're only going to get one more run into turn 1. But turn 1 isn't the only only corner that you can overtake on this track. We see a battle behind now with a couple of these drivers now. FG went a bit wayward, but he's now 2.5 seconds behind Sam 95. Sam 95 himself, he doesn't want to get second place on penalties. He wants to get this on track. He's going to try and make the move on TLR 95. He knows he's got more ERS in him because you can see the flashing gearbox of TLR notifying him that he's got less than 10% ERS. And if Sam wants any chance of winning this race, he's got to make the move on TLR now. But TLR, he's got the DRS from Callum G, and that's going to put a real spanner in the works for Sam 95. And he's just gone focus on the exit of this corner now, just to try and set up the move for turn 1. And he's really, really close to the Aston Martin driver. Is he going to make the move into the inside of turn 1? He does not. He's not going to win this race then. Surely not. Unless Callum G spins now, that's going to be it for Sam 95's chances of winning this race. Yeah, unless there's just a huge mistake now, as Deer Hunter makes the move up into 4th position, he could still. No, Deer Hunter won't get the podium on penalties. The podium will be Callum G, TLR, and Sam 95. But in which order will that be? We've only got a few corners to go left in this race, and the order on track, as we see rain start to fall down in the final seconds of this race. Oh my, this has everything. Going around the hairpin for the final time now. It will be Callum G who wins this, assuming he doesn't put it into the WOR of Champions. But will Sam 95 be able to get second place on track, or will he only have to settle for it on penalties? He's going to make them look on the inside now, but he's not going to risk it in the end. And it's going to be Callum G, who's had an exceptional race to win the Canadian Grand Prix, as Sam 95 in the Ferrari gets another podium in second place as TLR rounds out the top 3. Deer Hunter being ever so consistent towards the top end of the table, making small gains onto Snapbus, who finishes 6th in the end on worn out medium tyres. Probably better, I mean, as much as I said I'd consider him the driver of the day if he got above 5th position. He doesn't, but he's still up there. But I can't complain about TLR 10 getting driver of the day. What an exceptional drive from him. What an exceptional drive yet again from Sam 95, and what a way to introduce yourself to Tier 5 from Callum G there to win in his first race. He's done what Istvan Tomasi did and just burst onto the scene really, and that he's just announced himself to the tier saying, hello, I am challenging for this title. Well, he's got a big deficit to do so if he's going to try and do that, but he's shown he's definitely going to have the pace for it. And just what a race in the end. You just never knew which way it was going. At one point it looked like it was going to be BRT Wolves to lose that today. It looked like at one point it was going to be Slapbusters to lose. At one point it looked like it was Callum G to lose, and it ended up being the Scotsmen to lose in the end. Sam 95 coming from 6th position to take 2nd place. 13th place was where TLR 10 what started at the start of his race, and he managed to overtake a lot of drivers, and he made use of safety cars to end up in 3rd place in the end. I just want to say thank you very much to every single one of these drivers for yet another exceptional race of WOR sim racing on Formula 1 2021, and just what an absolute corker of a race. We will be back for next week, same time as usual, and this time we'll be driving around Italy. Now, tune in for then as we'll have an undoubtedly another amazing race. These guys just don't know how to produce a boring race, it must be said. But